Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. Last time we were crowned as the new Rogue Trader after Lady Theodora von Valencius's untimely death at the hands of something. We don't really know. Chaos, we can assume. But the Master of Whisper, who was the traitor, didn't seem to have any knowledge of her death, so it wasn't him that did it. But we also have some sort of creepy, unknowable thing crawling within our head that is both helping us, but, well, not helping us. Potentially helping us, but only for their own reasons, it seems like. But, and we're now in the what is it, the Reich tier system, I think it was called, or something like that. I don't know if there's any way for me to know, besides maybe the journal. I guess we do need to look at our journal, and oh my goodness. Show completed quests. No, let's get rid of the completed quests. So this looks like it's... Do these symbols mean they are... Oh, no, that just means they're new quests. Okay. So looking for trouble. The Reichad system, that's what it is. A matter of the utmost importance led the interrogator of the Inquisition, Heinrich von Kallax, to the Reichad system. The rogue trader's duty as a loyal servant of the Imperium is to find the interrogator and aid him in his mission. Since his whereabouts are currently unknown, it may be easier said than done. Visit Reichadi Philia, the prison planetoid. The prison planetoid in the Reichad system may have caught the interrogator's attention. Make contact with the Navis Nobilite station. The navigator's abode could have been a plausible destination for an interrogator of the Ordo Xenos. The station's residents may tell the rogue trader if they are playing host to such a guest. Urak 5. And land on Reichad Minoris. The interrogator must have visited Reichad Minoris. Perhaps the planetary governor knows of his present whereabouts or planned course of action. Alright. Argenta asked the rogue trader to talk with her on the ship as soon as the opportunity arises. Better not put it off for too long. Okay, that's probably what we'll do first then. New blood. The crew losses suffered during the cultist raid can be remedied on Reichad Minoris. Machine Spirit Keeper. The void ship requires a new engine seer, who may be found somewhere in the system. And then the guide. The void ship needs a new navigator. One may be found on the Navis Nobilite station. So I think that's probably where we'll head first after we get done with this companion quest. Can we track quests? Is that a thing? Not sure. Alright, over here we have Vox Master Vigdis. We'll just talk to everybody here. A thin, pale woman stands out among the rest of the crew. There's a thick bundle of cables coming out of the back of her skull and disappearing under her ceremonial garment. And you see the grate of a quietly humming Vox where her mouth should be. The woman sees you and bows her head in a respectful greeting. How may I serve you, Lord Captain? Remind me who you are. Vox Master Octavius Vigdis Suri Oda of the Ptolemon dynasty, the current Vox Master serving aboard your vessel. In accordance with the Seneschal's orders, I assumed this duty immediately upon the demise of the esteemed Vox Master Septimus, who was my grandfather. What are the Vox Master's duties? I am the ears and the voice of this void ship. I supervise several dozen officers and 3 times that number of support personnel. We receive, send, encrypt, and decode all incoming and outgoing messages through the ship's internal and external channels. We also ensure clean communications and the optimal efficiency of the crew's Vox casters. If you ever want to know what worries and concerns your crew are harboring, what your subjects are whispering about in the local networks after their watches, and what their leaders are clamoring about over shortwave Vox transmissions, just come and see me. I will satisfy your curiosity. Have the Vox spirits brought you anything interesting lately? Forgive me, Lord Captain. I have no information that would be of interest to you at this moment. Why do you look so strange? My appearance comes from my heritage. Generation after generation of people who spent their entire lives in the depths of this void ship. Neither we nor our ancestors have ever left our home, but the same can be said about many denizens of the Imperium's million worlds. We are used to the silence of the cosmos and the voices of the ship, There are thousands of us, but we dwell far from the Lord Captain's upper decks, and remain unseen. We are the Voidborn. So there are millions of worlds in this universe. So this universe is like... That's crazy. I don't even know the words. It's gigantic? I don't know. Massive? Wow, 1 million worlds. Now, I know the game's not probably going to take us to 1 million worlds, but, like, just the... I don't know if this is meaning populated worlds. But, I mean, with the technology here, you could probably have, like, some semblance of a population on most worlds. I guess that makes sense. This is what... This is 40k means, like, it's 40,000 years. So it'd be, like, 40,000 AD kind of thing. Or whatever. I guess it's 40,000 CE is the official way of saying it now. So 38,000 years after now. Yeah, I could see there being that big of a population. Okay. Where does the word Voidborn come from? Because we are the children born in the void between the stars, be it the womb of a traveling vessel, an orbital satellite, or forgotten asteroid station, low gravity, voyages through the warp, and the countless dangers of space travel, everything others hate and dread is second nature to us. Now, is the Imperium... Because they said millions of worlds in the Imperium. Still thinking about that last piece of information. Is the Imperium the only... sort of... I guess... nation, faction of humans? And are there other, like, empires or kingdoms or nations or things like that of alien species? Or is it just humans and, like, chaos? Tell me about the lives of the Voidborn and my crew. To us, the groans, creaks, and murmurs of the ship sound the way babbling brooks and singing birds do to world dwellers. We hear the ship breathe, know what it is feeling and thinking. We are part of the ship just like it is part of us. We perform numerous functions, and there are many officers among our number. Some maintain order and prevent mutiny. Others serve as shepherds and support the crew. And some devote themselves to mending the body and spirit of the vessel. Most of the Voidborn are members of large void ship dynasties that bear responsibility for a certain aspect of the ship's life. For 300 years, the main branch of the Ptoleman dynasty has produced the ship's Vox Masters, and most of our subordinates come from the cadet houses of the dynasty. How do you find life on the ship? Life has been quite generous to me, Lord Captain. I am the Vox Master, and only the best in the dynasty can become one. By virtue of my skills and position, no one has ever denied me anything. Our family claims a spacious section of its domain. I also enjoy long walks through the narrow and dimly lit corridors of the ship, listening to the sounds of our activity, falling asleep and waking up to the chanting of hymns, and admiring the stars beyond, of course. How do others on the ship treat you? We look, speak, and move differently from the inhabitants of the planetary worlds. Our way of life, traditions, and quirks frighten these people just like the darkness of the cosmos. Many believe us to be bringers of ill fortune, and alas, it is the Voidborn who get the blame for terrible warp phenomena during longer voyages. Vigdis hesitates before continuing. Several years ago, an unfortunate warp jump caused all the food on board to spoil. 15 days later, a hungry and furious crew nearly massacred everyone on the lower decks, blaming us for the misfortune and hoping to restock the larders with our flesh. Oh, yum. I would have been killed during the mutiny had Adira Glass not shown up in the right place at the right time. She came to my rescue, and the scoundrels' fear of her was even greater than their fear of the Voidborn. Looks like you are close friends with Adira. Webs of tiny wrinkles appear at the corner of Vigdis's eyes, the only hint that the Vox Master is smiling. The Voidborn seldom make friends, especially among the captain's entourage. But you see, many consider Adira to be different. I am different too. We have spent plenty of time in each other's company, discussing regicide over a glass of Amasek. Regicide, a human tabletop game played across the Imperium of Man, similar to the ancient Terran game of chess. Oh, cool. And Amasek, a potent alcoholic drink of varying quality, widely available across the Imperium. Except Adira changed after one incident, and we started to drift apart. The death of Lord Captain Theodora made her withdraw even more. I do not know if Adira considers me her friend now, but we used to be very, very close. It is good I can still look after her in my own way. Perception test succeeded. Interpreting the Voxmaster's emotions based on half a face and a Vox-modulated voice is no easy task, but you managed to catch the undercurrent in Victus's words. The Voxmaster is not merely saddened by her rift with Adira, she is devastated by it. Oh, that's sad. Have you ever left the ship? Oh, I did once, and it was dreadful. It felt like the massive blue dome overhead could shatter at any moment and fall, and my bones would be crushed by the gravity. Victus twitches her shoulders, trying to ward off the flood of memories. The ship is my home, Lord Captain, and I would not trade it for the bounty of 100 worlds. Reminds me of, a little bit of, like, Ogren. That's his name, right? In Dragon Age Origins, when you take him out of the, holy shit, I can't remember anything anymore. The Dwarven capital, Orgrimmar. Orgrimmar? That's not it, is it? No, that's... I'm dumb. Orsamar? Or... Whatever, you guys know what I'm talking about. You take him out of there, and he talks about, like, you know, he's gonna fall into the sky. A little different, because in her mind, the sky's falling on her. Yep. I see. Let us return to business. As you wish, Lord Captain. Connect me to the vessel's main channel. I wish to bolster the morale of my crew. Fellowship 40. I have a 75% chance here. I guess Abelard has that chance. Okay. Let's try it. Succeeded. The Voxmaster nods obediently and presses several switches on the device she is holding. It is done, Lord Captain. You address the crew with a rousing speech and hear your voice roll through the ship, reaching even the normally quiet corners of the vessel. When the broadcast ends, you hear distant shouts of approval. Awesome. That will be all for now. I live to serve, Lord Captain. Okay. So. Let's go down to the bridge down here. We've got Ravor. We'll go talk to him. There's Argenta, too, who we need to talk to. The tall man before you appears to be woven from tendons and muscles. Blue veins snake under his white, almost dove-colored skin. And his scalp and chin are covered in cropped white hair. His neck and shoulders are wrapped in wires that hint at the presence of neural connectors under his uniform. The officer's face seems to be twitched or twisted in a perpetual grimace of annoyance and anger, but he greets you with a respectful nod. Lord Captain, Master Helmsman Raver at your service. Remind me, who are you? I am the Master Helmsman, Lord Captain. I stand at the wheel of this here tub. I mean, your vessel. Embark commands at the idiots who tend to its related systems. In layman's terms, I'm the one who stops us from running into an asteroid or a disrupted gravitational wave when we're traveling through the void. Do you control the ship in real space? I wish that was my job. I have to steer her through the warp, too. But most of the credit of that goes to the navigator. Oh, I wish that was my only job. The warp's a nightmare. Always tossing up something new. All my years at the helm, they count for nothing in there. My part's small enough. I just monitor our systems, follow the charted routes, and I don't kick up a fuss when new orders come in from the navigator's sanctum. Real space. Now that's where I keep my eyes peeled. Gravitational anomalies, void currents, hard radiation. That kind of shit shows up everywhere. Thank the Emperor, the augurs on this vessel are holding up. And so far, we've been able to spot if something bad's coming our way. A term used to refer to the material universe as opposed to the warp. Right. Who are these idiots you are in charge of? There are too many to list them all. Tech priests from the Engineerium, voidsmen from the auger decks, the work-shy fools on the bridge. I'd have every last one of them flogged. They all need a wake-up call. They need to be whipped into shape, or else this ship's going nowhere. Or even worse, it'll go somewhere we don't want it to. That's enough. Right you are, Captain. You're a Voidborn, are you not? That I am. Born into a helmsman clan in the bowels of a Chartist vessel. Studied the family trade until I was 15. Then my entire clan was butchered in a mutiny by lower hold scum. They spared the young'uns, of course they did. Kids with implanted connectors make great navigational servitors. But I was having none of it. They weren't going to make a servitor out of me, so I escaped into the crawlways, and then I spent months picking them off, one after the other. River stops abruptly. You got me talking up a storm. Anyway, yes, I'm a Voidborn. Finish your story. River stays silent for a few seconds. Not much to tell. I gutted everyone I could get to, and then I fled upward to the middle decks. That's where the auger operators took me under their wing. They have apprentice helmsmen of their own up there, you see. Nobody asked me any questions, so I stayed. I grew up, trained, got smarter, then ended up a junior helmsman. A dozen years later, Danrock spotted me and lured me away, the cheeky blighter. I can see you're not a gregarious sort. Tell me about the Voidborn. What can you tell me about the officers? I can see you're not a gregarious sort. River's eyes twitch, which makes the grimace on his face even uglier. Have I done something to displease the Lord Captain? Did I mishear you? Or are you giving the rogue trader cheek? Answer me, Void Rat. I'm merely sharing an observation. On the contrary, you're the first person on the bridge who's not tripping over themselves to lick my boots. Yeah, we like 'em. The helmsman's perpetually twisted mouth twitches, as if he's trying to smile. It looks sinister rather than friendly. Oh yeah? Well, I'm pleasantly surprised myself that you aren't having me flogged for insubordination. But wonders never cease. River points at the cables around himself. Connecting wires. Once they go into the control panel, I become one with the ship. Except the body cogs messed up the wire's stimulus injectors and connectors when they implanted them. They twisted the wires the wrong way or burned something in my noggin. Anyway, I can't sleep. It just doesn't happen anymore. It's been 30 years of non-stop stimulants and a splitting headache. So you forgive me if I'm not all smiles, Lord Captain. Holy shit, dude. You are forgiven for anything. With that kind of condition, that'd be terrible. Tell me about the Voidborn. Raver winces and rubs his temple. Lord Captain, I mean no disrespect, but you do better to find someone with a knack for conversation, like Ptolemy, the new Foxmaster. I ain't the talking type. I just get the ship where she needs to go. Best let folks stick to what they do best. What can you tell me about the other officers? Good for nothing wasters, that's what they are. Each and every one. Take Generous Danrock, that highborn weasel. He fawns over the officers, but some of the deals he makes would get him burned alive. He drags other people into his schemes so they can take the fall for him too. One of my junior helmsmen was ferrying goods from Footfall for him, got caught by the Seneschal, and ended up in the Void Hatch. Danrock couldn't care less. The Voxmaster, another Ptolemy like the last one, Void rest him, is no better. She cut off half the Vox channels the day she took up her post, said the Vox systems were damaged, and the Engineerium had no contact with other modules. But how am I supposed to steer the ship? Collect the cogs reports with the power of my mind? First officer, Warsarian. I can't stand him. Like every Navy officer I've ever met, he doesn't know a thing about controlling a vessel in the void, but he puffs himself up all the same and throws his weight around. Me and him had to have words a few times before he left me alone. Thank the Emperor Lady Theodora trusted me more than the Seneschal when it came to helming a void ship. Then there's that woman, what's her name? Glass? Lady Theodora brought her along wherever she went, and look what happened to her. I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out it was that witch that delivered her to an early grave, just like the countless souls before her. I don't see why anyone would want that walking calamity on their ship, but some would disagree. They say she's friends with young Ptolemy, you know? Or at least she used to be. An exhaustive answer. Do you like anyone at all? Raver looks perplexed. What kind of question is that? I like you, and Lady Theodora before you. Where would I be if I was making cracks about the rogue trader? Huh. I don't want to die just yet. I must take my leave. Lord Captain. Raver acknowledges you with a nod and turns away. Alright. Argenta.
Rogue trader.
Sister Argenta looks tired. There are dark circles under her eyes. Her hair is somewhat disheveled, and she moves like she's a little on edge. Okay, we got a bunch to ask her. You said you have a personal request for me?
I indeed have a request, Rogue trader.
Thank you for being voiced. Never mind. The accursed servants of chaos who assaulted the ship took the lives of your loyal crew members, and they orphaned many children, including the progeny of the brave officers who defended their posts until the bitter end. I don't know what customary practices there are for cases like this in Von Valencia's territory, but in the world I'm familiar with, the children of such brave souls could expect to receive some special consideration. Perhaps the rogue trader could meet with the orphans? What good would meeting them do? Make arrangements for a meeting worthy of a rogue trader. I will address the orphans with a speech. I will meet with them. No formalities needed. These are the children of people who gave their lives for the Von Valencia's dynasty. My consideration is the least that they deserve. Deliver this order on my behalf. The orphans are to be properly provided for, but a personal meeting with the rogue trader is too much. Why would I? Do you wish to fill these children's heads with the illusion that the world and its rulers care about them? I will have no part of it. What good would a meeting do? These children are the future of your crew, and one day they too will have to stand against evil and heresy, as their parents did. By meeting them, by speaking the right words to them, you will honor the memory of the fallen heroes and light the way to heroes in the making. They will always remember the day they met the rogue trader. Besides, it will bolster the orphans' spirits, help them recover from their loss, which can be hard for someone so young. I'll meet with them. No formalities. I will pass on your instructions. Thank you for taking time to taking my request to heart. Oh, we're going right now. Oh. Okay, I wasn't expecting that. These are all the orphans? The motley group of adolescents do not take their eyes off you, gazing at you as if you were a creature straight from a fairy tale. Our indefatigable sister, what a word, sister has been keeping an eye on these pups. Abelard glances at the gathered children. It is hardly the Scola Progenium here, but we have provided the orphans on our ship with adequate care and instruction. The Scola, is it Scola or Shola? Scola. A division of the ecclesiarchy responsible for the upbringing, education, and training of orphans of those officers and nobles who have died in the service of the Imperium. Argenta is standing to the side of the group. At your approach, she perks up and announces, her voice ringing. Brave ones, the master of this ship has appeared before you, the one who guides it through the darkness of the universe by the Emperor's will. Greet your Lord Captain, the rogue trader of House Von Valancius. Grandly address the group, smile at the group, address the chaperones. Okay. Grandly address the group. I, the rogue trader, and Lord Captain of the ship, speak to you now. Your parents gave their lives for a just cause and brought honor to the Von Valancius banners and those of the Imperium. I am proud of them, and I believe that you will become their worthy heirs. Smile at the group. Your Lord Captain greets you, brave ones. Address the chaperones. Give them treats and escort them to their homes. I believe a minute of beholding the Lord Captain is a great enough honor for them. I like the first one. Grandly address the group. The teenagers hang on your every word with bated breath. Only a few at the far end of the row seem sullen and not particularly impressed by your speech. One of the scowling visitors with a thin scar across his face tosses his head back and says bitterly, So what? Why should we care? Our friends and parents died in the dozens for you, noble lot, and you just give us speeches. Argenta quickly turns to the boy. A flare of emotions flashes in her dark eyes, like she wants to both calm him and scold him for his impudence. Address the chaperones. Their comportment leaves much to be desired. I hope that they will be molded into worthy servants of House Von Valancius. This audience is over. Address the chaperones. Punish the troublemaker. Put the rest back in their bays. This audience is over. Address the group. If you have things to say them without fear. I will listen. Ignore the interruption. Rest assured, you won't be abandoned. You'll be taken care of. I like number 3. Address the group. The boy smiles grimly. It doesn't matter what we say. It won't bring our parents back. And it won't change our fates either. We'll keep slaving away on the ship until we drop and die like our folks. Or worse. I understand your grief and dismay. Your parents died. It's not an easy thing to go through. But they gave their lives for the truth. For the good of the whole ship. For the Imperium. Do not speak of their honorable fate with anger and disdain. When the heretics who killed your parents attacked the ship, I was there. I took command. I fought. And I repelled the assault as quickly as I could. But no war can be won without losses. You can only strive to do what is in your power. The strong have the power to decide the fate of others. The weak either obey or die. If you seek a different lot in life, boy, save your grumbling and look for an opportunity to rise above the rest. Punish the troublemaker. Okay. I like this one because it talks about honor. I'm a simple player. Or Imogene's a simple character, right? Honor. You're good. Do not speak of their honorable fates with anger and disdain. You heard the rogue trader. His words carry the wisdom of the Imperium. Whose words? It's hard to say whether or not your words have left an impression on the boy, but he nods slowly. Then he catches himself and gives you an awkward bow. Abelard gives a sign, and servants immediately emerge carrying packaged treats. With Von Valancius emblazoned on the wrappers, it appears that the Seneschal came prepared for any contingency. Have a few chocolate bars, here you go. Forget about your parents. Argenta rubs her temple pensively. She smiles and offers a few more words of encouragement, then leaves the bay. Later. Alright, are we going back to the bridge? That was pretty cool. I like that. Hope there's a lot of those kinds of things. It'd be cool if the game takes place over, like, a long period, like multiple years, and those kids actually become, like, soldiers in your army or something. Alright, so we're back on the bridge. Let's go back to Argenta. Anybody over there I need to talk to? No. Oh, this guy has a big name. Seems important. Oh, so is this one. Oh, no. Some of them just have bigger names. Okay.
Greetings.
Even in stillness, Sister Argenta radiates energy. With her dark eyes shining and a slight blush to her cheeks, she is reciting a prayer, and looks at you only once she has spoken the final line. Tell me about the Adepta Sororitas.
Gladly. There are none more faithful to the God Emperor than my sisters. We fight against his enemies by the will of the Holy Ecclesiarchy. I beg your pardon, rogue trader. Here I am talking about what every lesser noble in the Imperium knows. So what exactly are you interested in hearing about?
They say the Adepta Sororitas are the fiercest in their faith among the warriors of the Imperium. Is it true?
It is. The Sisters of Battle are a fire lit by the God Emperor. They are the echo of his voice that travels through the dark expanses of the universe. We bring his wrath to heretics, mutants, and other enemies of humanity. We protect the faithful from the unholy and unhallowed. Sometimes with words. More often than not with a bolter.
Are all sisters truly as faultless as you say?
Even the novices of the Adepta Sororitas are drawn from among the most worthy. Those who have taken the vows and become a full-fledged sister are the best of the best, tested by trials of body and spirit. Yes, there have been cases when a sister stumbled or showed weakness. But do not expect to hear a story of depravity or downfall from me.
Why not?
Each such occurrence is a great tragedy for us all. Light cannot bear the smallest speck of darkness within. And thus those who have trespassed or shown weakness of spirit are given a chance at redemption. They are called Sisters Repentia, and may the enemy tremble before her, for nothing can stop a sister of battle who yearns to be cleansed of fault and weakness. Wearing nothing but robes, no armor, eviscerator in hand, those sisters who have once faltered find repentance on the battlefield. Their lives are seldom long, but a death in the name of purgation is a better fate than to live with a shadow in one's soul.
What order are you from?
Once I had completed my novitiate, I was sent to the Calixian branch of the Order of Our Martyred Lady, assigned to the Order's Pronatus. The Order's mission is vital and noble. The Sisters Pronatus protect great relics of the Imperium. We guard them, preserve them, escort them when they are brought onto the battlefield or presented for pilgrims to venerate. And we seek out the relics that have been lost. Neither a coven of heretics nor the most wicked death world can deter Sisters Pronatus when their goal is to return a piece of the great legacy of the Imperium into the hands of the faithful.
I really like that idea of hunting down relics and things. We should do that. You said you belong to the Calexian branch of your order. What brought you to the Coronis Expanse?
The Order sent me to Footfall. My undertaking was to assist the local priesthood of Drusians in caring for a sacred reliquary that had been there since the time of Parsimus Duane, the station's founder.
Footfall, the massive void port on the edge of the Coronis Expanse, a notorious hotbed of vice, trade, and rogue trader intrigue. Drusians, followers of the cult of Saint Drusus, a legendary hero of the Angevin Crusade who founded the Calexis sector for the Imperium of Man. Are there any other members of the Adepta Sororitas in the Coronis Expanse?
None that I'm aware of, but the Sisterhood's orders are many, and can operate independently of one another, sending their sisters wherever their presence is needed as deemed by the Ecclesiarchy. Perhaps somewhere in the Lord Inquisitor's retinue, may his path be blessed, my sisters perform their duty as we speak. I wish it were so. Even a single evening spent in joint prayer and training would bring me joy.
I have no more questions.
Should any more arise, keeping them to yourself would be imprudent. It is a virtue to take an interest in holiness.
Tell me about yourself.
About me? I am the Emperor's daughter and his servant. What else is there to tell about me?
She looks surprised. How'd you end up on Theodora's ship?
I first came here when I found myself in need of passage from Footfall to a remote planet. But I imagine what interests you is not that first journey, but rather what brought me aboard prior to the pirate attack. That story is complicated. It just so happened that
She stops short. Argenta's expression darkens visibly.
I made a mistake. In a moment of laxity, I was ambushed by the accursed followers of the archenemy. I was badly wounded. Lady Theodora came to my aid and brought me aboard her ship, while her crew attended to me in my weakened state. It all happened not too long ago. I'd barely recovered from my wounds when the pirates struck. Truly, the servants of evil know no rest. There is no place where we can be safe from their machinations.
What happened to the people who wounded you? Did Theodora's men eliminate them?
Sadly, they did not. Lady Theodora was in a hurry and chose not to stay on the planet. Her people took me to a ship while I was unconscious, and when I came to my senses, we were already flying away. How I pray to come face to face with those heretics once more. And it's bound to happen someday.
You mentioned making a mistake.
It happens even to the best of us. My mistakes are my burden to bear. I'll find a way to atone for them.
Argenta says heatedly. Then she frowns and lowers her head for a moment. Where did this happen?
On one of the recently discovered planets in the Expanse. No one suspected that it had already been tainted by the filth of heresy. Had I known it beforehand, of course I would have been on my guard.
We could go to that planet and deal with the Chaos Worshippers.
The path to that planet was lost. All the knowledge is gone, along with the previous navigator. It would take immense effort and resources to rediscover the route. The heir to the von Valancia's protectorate must have plenty of other issues to deal with right now. Perhaps later, when the skies above our heads have cleared.
Fair enough. Her eyes glint. She hesitates, but then shakes her head with a sigh. What was it like traveling on Theodora's ship?
I hadn't been here that long. Just one journey from Footfall, and the other journey, the majority of which I spent in the confines of the Medbay. I can't tell you much about the first voyage. I was more focused on prayers and ruminations than on the people around me, or the journey itself. During the last journey, Seneschal Viserion stood out for me. He came by several times to ask about my health. He's an honorable man and a loyal servant of the Imperium. I think he is as meticulous in his inspections of the logistics systems as he is in his inquiries about the health of the occasional sister of battle aboard the ship. But not all of Theodora's people have earned my trust. You know who I'm talking about. There is no place for Adira Tlas among the God Empress faithful. I'm surprised she wasn't in league with the pirates. And I'm equally surprised by how deep heresy and treason run in this place. I'm glad we all made it through that dark hour. May the day that follows be bright.
Argenta frowns and shakes her head. No more questions.
As you wish.
What is it that's keeping you in my retinue?
This ship was targeted by heretical pirates, which means that my presence here and the assistance I provide to you are my sacred duty. Sooner or later, I will likely have to return to Footfall to protect its reliquary. But for now, I wish to remain a part of the Rogue Trader's crew.
It pleases me to have a servant of the Golden Throne in my crew. May the enemies of the Imperium tremble before our onslaught. I enjoy your company, Argenta. I hope that you remain in the crew, and that the ship becomes your home. You might be of use to me, and so I have no problem with your presence. I see no place for you on my ship. We will take you to Footfall, and that will be all. I enjoy your company.
Those are very courteous words, Rogue Trader. Thank you, both for your words and your hospitality.
She gives you another, somewhat puzzled look. Thank you for this conversation. Until next time. Oh, was that everything?
Greetings.
Yeah, okay. Cool. I'm glad that that was mostly voiced. Because my voice arrest here. I've been, recording a lot today. Testing void shields. Confirm receipt of instructions. Do you copy? I copy. Alright. Who else we got around here? There's Abelard.
Lord Captain.
Abelard surveys you briskly, but meticulously, as though he is inspecting you for shortcomings. Then he offers you a courteous nod. Let's talk about things that may be useful to me as a rogue trader.
A noble aspiration, Lord Captain. I am ready to acquaint you with all the particulars that interest you.
Abelard nods approvingly. Outline the situation in the Koranis Expanse for me. What do I need to know and keep in mind?
This is a topic for an official briefing, not a casual conversation. But I will try to answer succinctly. And if you permit, in my own words. The Koranis Expanse is considerably removed from the heart of the Imperium. This means that local warp routes become useless within months. Established pathways are regularly subject to attacks from all kinds of rabble. And in the only major port, the Imperium's frigates find themselves moored alongside pirate vessels. Until recently, the Koranis Expanse could hardly have been called a region of the Imperium. The situation has changed with the arrival of the Lord Inquisitor, but not by much. This place operates under its own rules, you see. More radical, so to speak. But ones that allow for a non-standard approach where there is a promise of victory. The Coronis Expanse is considered rogue trader territory for a reason. Only rogue traders have sufficient military might, audacity, and the rights granted them by the warrant to survive the leap into the unexplored part of the Expanse. And in the event of a successful outcome, to hold on to whatever they manage to capture on the frontier.
Wonder why this pops up. Who are the main players I need to be aware of in the Coronis Expanse?
In the first instance, you should treat official representatives of the Imperium with respect. The Expanse may be on the fringes, but it still numbers among the territories of the Golden Throne. The arrival of the Lord Inquisitor has turned the Coronis Expanse into a less wild and uncontrolled region, to the regret of some individuals who had grown inured to the local lawlessness.
The Golden Throne of Terra, an arcane cybernetic artifact that encases the God Emperor's physical remains entire and preserves them using stasis fields and psi-fusion reactors. Right, I was told about that.
Rogue traders such as yourself are also servants of the Imperium. They have been accorded special rights and powers. They wield immense authority within their territory, and they enjoy absolute respect in other parts of the Expanse. The most powerful of them are Kalagos Winterscale and Incendia Bastal Chorda. Tread carefully when dealing with either of them. If we are to speak of unclaimed territory, which is what Footfall is, among the scum that dwells on that handful of asteroids, there are 3 factions that wield considerable influence in the sector. The first is the Kazbalaka Mission, organized crime in its most primitive form. It holds sway over the Liege of Footfall and has links to rogue trader Winterscale. The second faction is an offshoot of our shining ecclesiarchy, followers of St. Drusus. They are actively building their forces and hold influence over rogue trader Chorda. And finally, the third faction, the Explorators, a wing of the Adeptus Mechanicus. They are willing to die and kill for the secrets of the ancient technological heresies that are hidden among the stars of the Coronis Expanse.
Okay, that's a lot of information. Kazbalaka Mission, the footfall chapter of one of the most successful crime syndicates in the Imperium of Man, founded in the Calixis sector. Conrad, our previous Master of Whispers, what can you tell me about his betrayal? What do you think he'll do next?
You know, Lord Captain, I am no admirer of fine art. But when we next find ourselves in a civilized port, with time to spare, I will promptly find an artist and commission a portrait of the individual to whom you refer, with a hole between the eyes. Conrad Voigtveer. That he committed his treachery and escaped with his life was an unforgivable oversight.
I agree. Abelard winces as though from toothache, and he makes no attempt to hide his feelings.
We both served Lord Captain Theodora for many years, and we never saw eye to eye. He was brash. He was never afraid of assuming responsibility, and he willingly took on difficult tasks. I am loath to admit it, but the Von Valancius Protectorate continues to reap the fruits of his labors to this day. His service always garnered my respect. But everything else about him made me want to wring the neck of that two-faced snake.
Abelard frowns for a moment, and then continues.
If you are taking comfort in the thought that we will hear no more of Conrad, prepare to be disappointed. You thwarted his plans, his meticulously plotted and nurtured treachery. He is sure to attempt to strike at you, and he will use his contacts and knowledge of the Protectorate to do so. The only question, Lord Captain, is whether you will be able to anticipate his next steps.
I think you mean we. You're supposed to be anticipating too, sir. That's all for now.
As you wish, Lord Captain.
Tell me more about yourself.
As you wish, Lord Captain. What would you like to know?
Tell me about yourself. Where were you before you became Theodora's Seneschal?
I used to be an officer in the Navis Imperialis. No, I used to be is not quite right. It was not simply a job. It was my calling, the essence of my life. I was proud to serve Lord Captain Theodora, but in my heart and mind, I'm still an officer of the Imperium.
Imperial Navy, the battle fleets of the Imperium of Man, also known as the Navis Imperialis.
I met Lord Captain Theodora on a mission where the Imperial Navy was providing reinforcements to the rogue traders' army on one of the frontier worlds. Our acquaintance was not easy. Working with people outside the Navy hierarchy has never been my strong suit. It was to my great surprise then, that after the mission's completion, I received a referral to leave my service in the Navy and join the rogue traders' personal council. It was a difficult choice for me, but I saw in the offer a chance to serve the interests of humanity even more effectively than in the Navis Imperialis. You do not need me to tell you just how remarkable a person Lord Captain Theodora was. I recognized her at once as a true leader and formidable creative force. One who had built a protectorate amidst the dangers and wildness of the Expanse.
Leaving the Imperial Navy is far from easy. Why were you permitted to quit your post?
You could say there was no one among the naval command who was willing to impede the wishes of the rogue trader. To do so would be to risk their own position and their relationship with Theodora. Well, the Lord Captain possessed certain contacts in the Imperial Navy. Contacts which she used to request help during the conflict on the border world. And which enabled her to make me an offer that resulted in my joining her retinue. Was there something else, Lord Captain?
Abelard brushes an invisible piece of lint from his coat. The way you talk about Theodora, I'm beginning to think you were in love with her.
What? Lord Captain, any allegations of improper feelings or unsanctioned relations are utterly baseless and bordering on the insulting. Utterly baseless.
Abelard appears to have lost the power of speech. He furrows his brow and adds, "Do you have a family?"
I am a widower. I am a father of 4, and if my information is not outdated, a grandfather of 11. My family lives on Dargonus. None of my children express any eagerness or aptitude for serving aboard ship, and I would hardly have insisted that they follow in my footsteps.
Nice. A family man, kind of. Thank you.
Of course.
You may call me by my first name if you wish.
I thank you for the honor, but I must decline. As a former military officer, I believe in the importance of order in all things, including the chain of command. You are the Lord Captain, my direct superior. I am not prepared to address you in any way other than as regulation dictates.
Fair enough. I must take my leave.
Lord Captain.
All right. Who else we got? Who are you? A bridge technomat. There's High Factorum. What is it? Factotum. Denrock. The corpulent man in lavish clothes bows before you, not without difficulty. A server's skull whirs over his shoulder, while the fingers of his augmented hand drums against the sheaf of papers he is holding. And he regards you with attentive interest, though through the lens of his magnifying implants. Greetings, your ladyship. Janris Denrock at your service. Remind me who you are? As the High Factotum, my duties encompass anything that might enrich you and your protectorate. I see to it that suppliers deliver all shipments on time, that our partners do not weasel out of their promises, and that all servants remember that the Emperor's grace can only be earned through toil for the good of the von Valancius dynasty. I also make arrangements to ensure that our hold receives less than thorough inspections by port custom officers, and I find buyers for whatever it is you wish to sell. So you're a quartermaster. How did you come to serve the von Valancius dynasty? I come from Dargonus, your ladyship. I have been a subject of your dynasty since birth, and have always strived to be of use to the great rogue trader. Alas, it was not my fate to be the primary heir of my own family, due to my being 15th in line for the title. So I decided not to stand in the way of those behind me in case they attempted to shorten the waiting list at my expense. Fair enough. Janice lets out an almost kindly chuckle. While my brothers and sisters schemed against one another, I studied the exact sciences and mastered bookkeeping, the greatest art of the Adeptus Administratum. I must admit that the accumulation of wealth is something one can control. is far more exciting than hunting, carousing, and other traditional amusements of my noble peers. What was it like working with Theodora? Oh no, that's a tricky question, your ladyship. Do you ask it of everyone, knowing they risk losing their head should they let slip a careless remark about your predecessor? I shall put it thus. Working with Lady Theodora was never boring and always profitable. The Imperium has billions of subjects, but very few do what they love, and what they are best suited to. I would say Lady Theodora was one of the fortunate ones. She was a model rogue trader, and she surrounded herself with those who excelled at and loved their work. Hers was a rare talent indeed. Tell me what you think of the others. Keeping tabs on your subordinates? A wise move. Tell me who interests you, and I'll endeavor to be as honest as possible. Generous's eyes light up. He is obviously eager to speak his mind. What do you think of the Seneschal? Lady Theodora managed to do what even the Imperial Navy could not. Teach Master Viserion to carry out orders and that he fundamentally disagrees with. I do not know what methods she used, but the result is impressive. Having said that, there's something else you need to know, Lord Captain. Your Seneschal is capable of being something far greater than a mere conduit for your will. He possessed the cunning and experience to run the Protectorate passably whenever Lady Theodora was away, and that really is saying something. Keep an eye on that old officer, I say, or alternatively, turn him into a faithful ally. Okay? I'd like to hear your opinion of Conrad Voigtvier, the former Master of Whispers. I hope I never see him set foot aboard this vessel again, not even as a servitor. Although, he would be able to do at least some good that way. Someone has to clean the latrines, after all. The factotum's bloated face grows stern. He gave us all quite a fright on that ill-fated day, Lord Captain. And still, to speak candidly, I never enjoyed Master Voigtvier's company, but I believed him to be a man who knew how to do his job. Regretfully, I was mistaken. It turned out Conrad lacked the most important quality for a Master of Whispers, unwavering loyalty to the rogue trader, and his failing came to light in the most deplorable manner. What do you have to say about Voxmaster Victus? Ah yes, the Voidborn. You know, in my family we used such creatures as quarry whenever we went hunting. Mutants are the bane of humanity, an unseen tumor that threatens to end us all. But I digress. In the brief time Telemann has spent in post as Voxmaster, I have not noticed any significant flaws in her character, or anything that would make me question her professional qualities. Needless to say, she is very diligent, as is any Voidborn, seeking to earn their master's affection. I believe you can trust in her skills and loyalty. Nothing like a racist on deck. I wish to discuss something else. Want to know more about the people who buy our plunder? Of course, Lord Captain. Who interests you exactly? We most often deal with the followers of St. Drusus, the Explorators, and the Casballica Mission, or, Emperor forgive me, the Fellowship of the Void. What do the followers of St. Drusus require from us? The Drusians still hope to bring the Coronus Expanse into the warm embrace of the faith, just as their flock hopes to receive the aid of the Drusian missionaries. Each crate of food, shipment of clothes, or box of medicine marked with your seal is a sign of the rogue trader herself. That the rogue trader herself believes in the sect's future success. Reverend Hieronymus is the first among the Drusians and is most often in the Footfall's Grand Atrium, a gloomy fellow, but some almost believe him to be a saint. The Explorators? Members of the Explorator Cognizance fleet, which has been roaming the Coronus Expanse for a good while now. Omnissiah knows what they are hoping to find, but their acolytes regularly show up on inhabited worlds, seeking bits of sacred knowledge, tracking down mechanical relics, and sniffing out Xeno artifacts, if truth be told. Supposedly, they want to save the ignorant rabble from corruption. A tech priest named Opticon 22 does business with us on the fleet's behalf. He can be found at the docks on Footfall. Tell me about the Casablanca mission. Masters of the cold trade, immoral criminals, and notorious crooks to the last man. The mission is but one branch of this mafia gang that has taken root in the Calexis sector, You can do business with them as long as you take the necessary precautions. They are led by Vladimir Tokara, who recently appointed himself Liege of Footfall. Of course, he is a trusted ally of rogue trader Winterscale, but he will not refuse you, another of the Emperor's anointed. If you wish to talk to Vladimir, look for him in the Liege's palace on Footfall. What is this Fellowship of the Void? Janus emits a laugh-like gurgle. A pompous name, is it not? In truth, they are a gang of pirates who are forever squabbling over loot and territory. However, some of their little flotillas need supplies, or can take awkward cargo off our hands without asking questions. Of course, there's always a risk that these scoundrels will change their minds and attempt to board us instead. But so far, our macro cannons have managed to keep them in line. They say Ryza Calvaria speaks on the Fellowship's behalf. The Adeptus Amacicus on Footfall is rumored to be her favorite haunt. Why are we giving away our spoils to these people in the first place? To profit from them, of course. Most of the things you will find during expeditions are complete junk to one such as yourself, but the less fortunate and affluent servants of the Emperor think them treasures, especially when they are bestowed by the great rogue trader herself. Drusian fanatics and pirate cutthroats, Casbalica dealers and explorators, none will refuse our help in these dark and trying times. And there may come a time when we shall be the ones requiring aid. It would be beneficial to have allies willing to provide it. Change the subject. I wish to bolster my retinue with skilled fighters. Rest assured, there are people of the most outstanding talent among the thousands of your crew. I will contact the overseers at once. Ah, so this is where you can create your own characters. Oh, you can get this pre-generated character in. Ah, cool. Yes. My retinue and I are in need of training, so this is probably the retraining option. Yep. Cool. Anything else that you have? Nope. Alright, good to know. Anybody else out here? Still a couple people we need to find. I'm not sure where we find. I like there's a group of candles down there. Don't know where Adira is. Oh, there she is. Glad I looked over here. Adira. The tall, middle-aged woman stares straight ahead, her eyes vacant, as she rubs the implant at her temple. Her collar is undone, and one of the clasps is on the verge of falling off. Sensing your presence, Adira turns her head towards you and offers you a crooked smile, even as her eyes look right through you. Adira, about your abilities.
What are you talking about, Lord Captain?
With noticeable effort, Adira focuses her eyes on you. She lets out a nervous laugh. You are a Psyker. Psykers are only granted the right to live with the Emperor's blessing. Have you been to Terra?
Look, Lady Theodora couldn't care less if some eggheads measured my brains or not. It's not about the seal on your forehead, get it? It's about what's in your gut, if it's rotten or not. My gut's stronger than the adamantine on this here ship. And my implants are better than the ones they put in you on your Terra. If they weren't, I wouldn't have lived as long as I have.
Adira says nothing for a few seconds and then exaggerately rolls her eyes. Adira bars her teeth in a savage grin, a febrile gleam in her eyes. I don't know what that word means. Where do you come from?
Lyra, an outlying world in the Heathen Stars region. In the Coronis Expanse, the deeper you go, the less visible the Astronomicon gets, and the less people know about the Imperium. The arrival of a rogue trader is the best thing that can happen to a world like that. The very best. Astronomicon,
the psychic beacon that helps navigators to triangulate a course for their void ship through the warp. There we go. Tell me about Lyra.
It's an out-of-the-way planetoid between two faint stars. On Lyra, a dozen local tyrants fight over 5 measly continents. But they use everything they can to win, from poison to psychers. I haven't been there in many years, but there's nothing for me to miss. Trust me.
Adira begins wringing her shaking hands.
But here on the ship is a different story altogether. I saw more wonders in my first year serving Lady von Valancius than I'd seen in my whole life on Lyra. Like my first journey through the warp, I was in bed for 3 days. I felt like supernovas were exploding in my head. I only found out later that I'd gotten off easy. Just through the bulkhead, in the bay next to mine, a whole team turned into... Look at me rambling on, Lord Captain. Pay no attention.
Finish your story.
It wasn't like it was a very fun trip, Lord Captain. But look, if you want to be entertained, I'm the woman for the job. I'll entertain you with one of the stories from my collection, no problem. But if you want to hear about the time I melted everyone in the bay next door, well, I just don't really want to go into the details on that one, all right?
Fair enough. What did you do before you came to be on the ship?
Oh, I embroidered wall hangings in honor of our national heroes.
Funny.
I did the same thing I do here, Lord Captain. Divining. Our rulers prized the ability to see into the future. Every psyker that could be found was worth a small fortune on Lyra. There's no such thing as a peaceful life on Lyra. People like me were especially sought after. They'd pick psychers up wherever they found them, buy kids off their parents, even just abduct them. Take me, for instance. I got taken from my street gang. The older kids sold me when they noticed there was something off about me. The ruling dynasties had schools where they trained us and beat us black and blue. And then they packed us off to serve. Some of us held on for a long time, but others didn't last. Not everyone's as smart and talented as me, you know. Some people crossed the line and were out of commission before their time.
Adira looks at you expectantly. Then, as though clarifying, she uses her hands to indicate a head exploding and laughs. How'd you end up in the rogue trader's service?
Theodora von Valancius paid a visit to the ruler I was serving at the time. I don't know what the visit was for, and it's no business of mine anyway. I can still remember the way the voices in my head changed when I looked at her. They were practically screaming. She had so much behind her, and plenty ahead of her too.
Adira squints as though she's peering at something far away.
As I gawped at her, all of a sudden I heard a whisper. A hint, a suggestion, nothing more. But I know the difference between idle chatter and a real threat. I seized my chance and approached Theodora. I managed to whisper a couple of words in her ear before the wardens dragged me away. They beat me and locked me up. No wonder. It wasn't my place to converse with outsiders. And then Theodora's people came for me. They broke down the wall, butchered the guards. All so I could tell them my warning in full. So I said the rest, but I didn't want to go back to my old life. And so I entered the service of the von Valancius dynasty.
Have you ever been off the ship?
A few times. Not many. And if I think about it, why would I want to? I've got everything I need here. All the whispers I hear are familiar ones. They almost feel like family. And if I want to hear about the nightmares off the ship, I can. After some Amisec. But don't go getting the wrong idea. If I have to, I'll follow you to the edge of the galaxy.
That's what I like to hear. Let's talk about something else.
Of course, Lord Captain.
What's it like being a psyker?
Lord Captain, forgive me. But it would be like talking to a person born blind about colors. I could spend hours explaining, but it wouldn't make any sense to you.
Adira tilts her head to one side as though listening closely to something.
Every psyker feels their connection with the warp in their own way. One person might see spots and shadows out of the corner of their eye. Another feels fingers running down their spine. As for me, I've got a door in my head. One that's open just a crack. There's no way to close it, no matter how hard I try. I've just had to get used to the whispers from the other side. When I need to use it for work, I listen in more closely. But I usually just try not to notice it.
How do you live with this whispering in your head?
Training, habit, and a little amasec and a couple other things you can get on the lower decks. If you put all those together, it makes things bearable. Sometimes I even wonder if I'm imagining half the voices I hear. You know, when life on board gets a little boring. Better than listening to the living, anyhow.
What would happen if your door burst open?
Well, if the door opens, that means somebody's planning to come in, right? But screw them. They're not coming through. Trust me. I know how to keep my valuable head locked up tight.
Aren't you afraid of losing control?
Only losers who are afraid of their own gift lose control. Or idiots who never figure out what they are before it's too late. Or little kids who want to play around with their shiny new toy. If you don't know the limits of your abilities, or you're always bouncing around in your own head, that's a recipe for disaster.
Can you see my future?
All right. That's what I'm here for, after all. So, I'm just going to lean on that door in my head a little more, prick up my ears, and listen to what the warp's got to say about you. If you'll allow it, I can listen right now.
Adira wrinkles her nose and looks around. Then she wipes her hands, gives her head a shake, and finally nods. She grins like she's already heard some salacious detail. Sure.
All right. Let's hear what they're whispering about you.
Adira laughs, rubs her hands together, and suddenly freezes with a vacant smile on her face. Her head slightly tilted. You feel goosebumps appear on your skin, and your collar begins to waver ever so slightly, as if moved by a breeze from a half-open door.
Seek not on firm ground, but in a golden hall suspended in the void. There waits a child without kin, but with a name blind to truth. She draws the brush across the canvas and does not notice that her palette is full not of paint, but of blood. And with each smear, this well does not deplete, but fills and fills up to the brim. One thing is clear. When this vessel overflows, none will remain unstained. Among the blind men and false prophets, a red-robed sage seeks the answer to a question. He does not know that it is not the answer he must seek, but the question that will draw everything into focus. Will you help him, rogue trader? But mark that sometimes ignorance is sweeter than oblivion. A chained hound chases after glimmers of the aurora, but sparks in the scent of oil confound his nose. A chain trails after him. What will happen if you pick it up? Will you become his mistress, or merely another beast in the pack of his true lord?
Okay.
The glow of dawn bursts forth from its prison. Dungeon walls cannot contain the dark essence wallowing in the dust. A naive cub pushes his nose into a familiar hand, one that holds death in twisted glass. Cherish it or cast it off as a burden. The sword of change has already been raised. What is one more life to it? I'm sorry, Lord Captain. The voices are going wild. I can't make out a thing. I'll try to rein them in, somehow. But for now...
Adira strains to listen, then frowns and shakes her head. Psycho shrugs sheepishly and sniffs. I'd like to hear your augury, Adira.
All right.
Guess the same thing.
I'm sorry, Lord Captain. The voices are going wild. I can't make out a thing. I'll try to rein them in, somehow. But for now...
Did you know Theodora von Valencius well?
None of the officers knew the Lord Captain well. Not even Abelard, and she was always closer to him than anyone else. She told me from the off that if I ever listened to anything in the warp about her without her permission, I'd be going out through the airlock. I'm not an idiot, so I never stuck my nose where it didn't belong. Only when I was asked.
It's hard to wrap my head around the fact that she's gone. Lady von Valancius gave me everything I have. She opened the stars to me and the paths between them. I still think I can hear her voice.
Adira's eyes darken and a strange, otherworldly presence comes over her face. She lets out a sharp breath and shakes her head. Things are strained between you and Argenta, isn't that right?
The little sister is afflicted with her own set of voices. Ones that whisper to her about corruption and heresy. The silly girl doesn't realize that if she wants to find the source, she needs to start by looking in her own head.
Adira falls silent and then in a different voice adds. Got a new story for me?
You bet I do, Lord Captain.
Adira becomes much more animated and her expression turns slightly dreamy as she recalls one of her stories.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So, we went to Footfall once?
Well, I mean, Lord Captain Theodora went to Footfall a lot. But on that occasion, she took me with her for some reason. My day had gotten off to a bad start. My head had been yammering since I woke up, but there was nothing else for it. I had to go. We arrived at the place, and what a place! All the gentlemen and ladies dressed to kill, showing off their encrusted implants, all clustered around little tables. Well, turned out it was a gaming den. And not just any gaming den, but one run by somebody with deep pockets for people with just as much cash to splash. You should have seen it. People gambling away planets in a game of regicide. Anyway, so the Lord Captain wanted me to help her beat some guy. So I tell her, the chips won't land in your favor. You'll get a bad hand. Don't sit down at that table, your ladyship. But did she listen? Of course she didn't. If there's one thing she never lacked, it's stubbornness.
So, they sat down and the cards were dealt. I'm hovering around like I'm not involved, but I'm keeping my eye on things. And everything in my head keeps getting louder and louder. Anyway, it's a good thing I realized in time that my mind wasn't going haywire over a losing hand, but something else. I made some excuse to drag the Lord Captain up from the table and took her away from that place. And a few minutes later, the room where we'd been... It turned out some wise guy had the same bright idea to bring a pet psyker along with him. One of those ones who just scuttle around in Footfall's underbelly. And the psyker just freaked out, I guess. After all the commotion, people went to see what happened in the room. And they'd all gone for each other's throats. Literally. With teeth. And I think they completely detached that asteroid from Footfall and pushed it off into open space so it would head off toward the local star.
Damn, that's quite the story.
Of course. Always at your service. Whenever you need me.
Okay. So I think we have gotten to know everybody that we need to know. Or that is here to be known. So in the next episode, because it's time to end the episode, we're ready for your orders, Lord Captain. Cool. In the next episode, we'll leave this spot and go explore the rest of the ship. This is not where we go. Well, we'll figure out how to explore the rest of the ship, or if there's any more ship to explore. Or maybe we'll fly off into the next direction. I don't know. Oh, we can go to the Coronis Expanse there. Nobody on this side, right? Was there anybody on this side? That's just an elevator. To the Lord Captain's quarters. Oh, we'll probably check that out next. But until then, hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you later.